Today, I'm going to give you my thoughts on comparing two cell phones. The Nokia 920 versus the Galaxy 7S Edge. First, a little history. Quite a few years ago, I can't remember exactly how many, might be as many as 5 years ago, I got a Nokia 920, which is a Windows phone. Yes, I'm one of those rare people who use the Windows phone. I bought the phone, come home, connected to my computer, downloaded my music, it played. I bought a new car, Ford Fusion, titanium with all the, the sync touch, whatever. So the phone connects up, and my only complaint with this phone, okay, there's two. The first complaint is you cannot initiate a text message. If a text message comes in, the Ford sync touch says, oh, you have a text message. Do you want me to read it or ignore it? You go read, and it reads the text message to you, and it says, would you like to reply? And you can say yes or no and send a reply to it. Great, wonderful, but you cannot start a text message. That was my complaint. And it says it's because it's a Bluetooth connection doesn't support that. And I go, okay, fine. So this went along fine, and I was on AT&T, and this worked for many years. I was very happy with it. But then I was moving, and something happened. And either it's the phone, I actually think it was AT&T's cell tower, because other people were complaining in the area that suddenly connectivity went to crap. And it really did. I could connect, I would go someplace, I could make a phone call and everything worked fine. I'd come home, and in my office, I could make a phone call, I could hear people, but they couldn't hear me. So the fact that if I went someplace else and made a phone call and people could hear me made me think it wasn't the phone, but it was the network. So I was really going along fine, and I decided I'm moving, so I thought, okay, I'm having problems with my phone, I'll change carriers, I'll get a new phone, everything else. So I decided, okay, let's get I read through all the reviews, and I hear the Galaxy 7S Edge is a wonderful phone. All those people who gave it above a 3, I think are lying. This is a smelly piece of excrement. And let me explain why. First off, I'm getting over cancer chemotherapy. I have peripheral neuropathy in my fingertips. This phone is an absolute disaster for somebody with peripheral neuropathy because every time you pick up the phone, the edges are active. It's a piece of crap. To make a phone call, everything, comparing these two phones, to do the same thing, this phone almost always takes at least one more click to do the same function that it is on this phone. They go, oh, but you have such a better selection of apps. The only app that I have seen on here that is better was the one for Google+. And I'm one of those weird people who liked Google+ until they made some changes, but what happens is that's the only app on here that I think is different. Now, were there any apps that I didn't find? I was thinking about buying a Roomba, which isn't supported on this, the newest Roomba. But hey, okay, so let's talk about some specifics. I buy the phone. It's got an SD card. Great! I have about 20 gigabytes of music. And where did I get the music? I actually have the CDs for 99% of the music. I literally have the CDs. I bought them years ago, and back in the Windows XP days, or even earlier, and I ripped them all from CD at the highest possible bit rate and put them on there. When I got married, I took my wife's CDs and ripped them all. So that's where 90% of them came from. So I have all these MP3s at 320 bits per 320 bits per second, I guess, rip. It's the highest one I could get off of Winamp. I believe it was Winamp, or I can't remember which one I was using. They no longer works, but unless you fire up a version of XP. So I have all these CDs. So I go, okay, I got my little SD card. I connect it up to my computer. It's a 200 gig SD card. I copy all my music, put it in the S3, and the S3 crashes. Won't start. Take the SD card out, starts up fine. Put the SD card in, crashes. Okay. So I reformat the card, do that, recopy the music, try it again. Crashes. I go, okay, something's wrong with the copy. So let's do the fun thing. Let's connect it up to my computer, to put the SD card in it, connect it to the computer and connect it through. This is a slower process. Copy all the files. Okay, it starts up. Then I go counting my music files. I have 4,000 MP3s. I know I have 4,000 MP3s because I have 4,000 MP3s on this computer. I have 4,000 MP3s on another computer. I have 4,000 MP3s on a USB that I plug into my Ford Fusion. 2,000 files. Where did the other 2,000 go? I don't know. Didn't copy it there. So I go, why did I only copy 2,000 files? What ones are missing? Trying to figure out which ones are missing. I can't figure out that one. I still haven't been able to figure that out. But half of my music is gone. It's not on this phone. So I go, okay, fine. I'll go to the Google way. I get a Google Drive. I buy the extra disk space. Copy my 4,000 MP3s up there. I can still play them from my Google Drive. Copy that 4,000 files from Google Drive to my Galaxy S7 Edge. It copies 2,000 files. Doesn't tell me what other 2,000 files it won't copy, but it won't copy them. So again, I go back. I try and do a bunch of different things to try and get it to copy the files. If I do get the 4,000 files, this thing crashes. Every time. Won't start. It's unusable. So I can't get all my music on here. Don't know why. Can't get all my music on here. So then I plug this phone into I connect this phone up to my car. Well, you cannot text. Well, that's not completely true. You have your choice of 15 canned messages that you can reply with. But let's be honest, what happens? Text message comes in. On my Ford Fusion, on my screen, it flashes, you get a beep, and it flashes a thing saying, do you want to listen or reply or view or whatever? Every time I hit listen, it dials the number. I can never get it to listen. I can never listen to it. I try. I do the voice, and it is only there for 2 or 3 seconds. Honestly, it appears 2 or 3 seconds, then disappears, and you have to go through the menus to get to it. This phone doesn't work with my Ford. In my opinion, it's a big, smelly pile of excrement. The people who reviewed this either are so biased. This got great rave reviews, and this got horrible reviews. I like this phone. It works. Until the AT&T network was there. This phone I'm stuck with for the next 2 years, I guess. Until Verizon, I'm stuck with my contract because I bought a contract. Breaking it sounds expensive, and I'm sitting there going, this is a smelly pile of crap. And I think it is the worst smartphone I've had. Now, I won't use an iPhone. I hate Apple. That's my own personal bias. I admit that. But this almost made me want to think about going to Apple, because this phone is just so infuriating. I scream at this phone so much. I've never been so angry. I use more expletives when I'm in the car and I get a text message, basically I get irate because this phone is incapable, in my opinion, of working with my car, which this phone worked with perfectly. Now, okay, almost perfectly. I couldn't initiate a text message. I could reply to text messages by voice. It would listen to my voice. It would convert it. And okay, there are problems occasionally with things I said that it didn't translate right, but it would pronounce it back to you and say, is this the way you wanted it? And you could make correct, you could re-record it and so on. You could add more to it and go through it. And it worked amazingly well. I was amazingly surprised how well this phone works with my car. This phone doesn't work with my car. And I spent a lot of time researching why is that. And what happens is that Google doesn't think you should text and drive, even by voice. And that's the reason, evidently, why, as far as I can tell. Because this phone is totally broke. I looked at some of the other options about how to do that, and it doesn't work through your sound system anymore in your car. And I'm going, that's crap. That phone is a stinking pile of excrement. I'm not going to use the expletive, but you know what I'm talking about. It's a big brown, smelly thing. And I want to know, did the people who gave this phone great reviews, were they paid by Google to give it a good review? Because this thing is horrid. And if you've got, like I said, peripheral neuropathy, how the hell do you pick this fine phone up? Because the edges are a nightmare. The edge I never would buy, and I would this edge, because you would have to pick it up at there, or if you've got long fingernails, maybe you can slide it under it and lift it so you don't trigger the edges. Now, this thing has a bunch of features that don't work. Well, and I can't, I will put a caveat on this one. I work for a company that insists on security. So on my phone, on my Windows phone, I always had to have a password, and had to have an 8-character password that changes every 42 days. Okay. So I get my phone on here. So I can't, the statement that this thing will lock automatically, this thing locks automatically if you do anything. Now, in theory, you could say, oh, if I'm at this location, don't have it lock. This one locks anything. If I set the phone down, it locks. If I leave it in my pocket, it locks. It's not supposed to. And I don't know if it's the security, whatever. This phone doesn't do that. This phone locks, yes. But if I don't touch it, if I don't do something on it within 5 minutes, it will lock. It's reasonable. This phone, I set it down on the desk and it locks. This phone, I set it down on the desk and it doesn't lock for 5 minutes. So they're both got security policies on there, but this phone here is a nightmare with the security, because in essence, you pick up unless you keep working with the phone, you have like 30 seconds before the phone will lock. And I don't know if that's a security policy of what I've got, but this has got a security policy on it. And I have to change the password and the same thing. So what happens is, this phone I hate. It is an absolute disaster. And the people who gave it good reviews, I want to know if they were bribed to give it good reviews. Because what's good? Okay, the one thing that's good, and the one complaint, one feature this has that this one doesn't, is copy and paste in Excel works. Copy and paste is basically broken on this box. That's Microsoft's doing. So what happens? But that's the only thing. Copy and paste works here. I can copy a cell in Excel and paste it to another cell. I can't do that on a Windows phone. For what, at least with the it's 8.1, and I can't upgrade to 10 because Microsoft broke their word, and we're supposed to be able to upgrade this one to Windows 10, and they went back on that and said no. Okay, but I can't do that. So I'm hoping Verizon, which is with the network I'm now on, comes out with a Windows phone. As soon as it says, I'm getting rid of this phone. This Android, my experience with Android has been extremely frustrating and irritating, and I hate this expletive deleted phone. This is an awful phone, in my opinion. I know I'll probably get hate mail on this one. People will tell me, oh, I don't know. But I liked this phone. It was just the carrier I didn't like. And I moved, and now I'm stuck with a contract that either got to break or whatever. So that's my opinion. The Galaxy S7 Edge is a pile of excrement.